John, welcome to Locked In. We've been talking about doing this for a couple months now.
Yeah, great to be here.
You reached out to me, I think, on Facebook, right? Saying you watched the show.
I can't remember. I remember I liked your style. I liked the way you kind of do both perspectives, person being locked up and on the other side, law enforcement. I like a person that gets both sides of the story. Not to say that this is enemy, against enemy. It's not. Like we were talking earlier, in the beginning, I thought it was like that. But then as time goes on and you mature and you see things, you gain a different type of intelligence of the matter. So
yeah, and I think people love the dynamic of like former, someone that was incarcerated with former law enforcement. Right. And that also helps break down barriers too, with law enforcement.
Right, exactly. Like we talked on the phone the first time. I told you when I started doing corrections, I was doing county jail corrections. I was a deputy sheriff. I was 20 years old. And, I walked in there not knowing anything. And I walked in there with that, right? And I found out quickly that doesn't get you nowhere, okay? I'm not saying that you can't have a backbone. You have to have a backbone as a correction officer. But you also have to have a thing called don't take away a person's dignity, okay? And you also have to have a thing where there are rules and regulations, but at times they're meant to be broken, or bent a little bit. And I'm not saying that with a rule violation or breaking the law, but when a man's going to the bathroom in his cell and he puts his blanket up in front of his cell, give him a break. You know what I mean? He's in there for 5 minutes. Let him do his thing. In the beginning you're like, take down that sheet. I'm going to the bathroom, CO. I don't care. Take down that sheet. And now, looking back, I'm like, why would you? You got your inmate count is good. He's not in there with another inmate. You know what I mean? Let him do his thing. So with that, one day at a time, one step at a time, you become an officer where you realize that the way that you talk to people, the tone of voice that you use, the words that you choose are huge, huge things, okay? Some of the best COs that worked there, that I worked with, were not big muscular dudes. The best guys that worked there could talk. You know what I mean? Treated people fairly. Got them to do what they wanted them to do. I'm not saying they got stepped on. They didn't get stepped on. They ran a good unit. You know what I mean? Everybody was doing what they're supposed to do. They just knew how to do it. And I quickly realized at 20 years old, what's this guy doing differently as a CO where everything's working out? And then this guy who's always calling for help, for assistance, who's always writing people up. You know what I mean? Is this guy not doing his job? And this guy is? And I noticed that, no, that's not the case. This guy's creating his own problems. You know what I mean? This guy, he knows how to run a unit. He knows how to treat people. So I learned from things like that. And that just continued on into when I became a cop on the road as a rural police officer. It continued. Narcotics, not so much, because narcotics is when I became a narcotics investigator, it's more investigations. You know what I mean? It helped with interviews after the arrest. As far as tell me about what's going on in your organization, things like that. I felt as if people were able to talk to me a little bit more because of the fact that I had this ability that I learned how to talk to people and how to be sincere with my words to them. You know what I mean? And then when I got in city policing, it just continued on. But the whole foundation of my law enforcement career, and I never forget it, and the people that are my friends are in corrections, I tell them that every police officer should be a correction officer before they become a police officer. You learn so much on how to treat people. You learn so much as far as how important the things that you say to people are. You know what I mean? I remember getting on road patrol, and I went to a large fight, and I get out of the car, and I go, what is going on here? Like that, right? Right? Okay. So now a lot of cops would be like, get the fuck out of there. You're going to go to jail. You want to go to jail? You go to jail. They're shaking their handcuffs. You know what I mean? They're pulling their stick out. They're trying to. And when I get out of the car and I go, what's going on here? It's like a father or mother coming into a room and catching a bunch of siblings fighting. What is going on here? Okay? And it breaks down the barrier of being a police officer. It looks more like a parent kind of scolding the kid. And it works. It started working for me. People will be like, oh, Dad, this guy's doing this. Oh, man, this isn't worth all this. Come on, man. I was trying to have a cup of coffee and a donut. You know what I mean? Now I'm breaking down the barrier where they start laughing at me, you know, because they coffee and donut, all that. And I'm working this whole situation, and they think I'm not that good of an officer. Yeah, well, I'm kind of showing you that we're all going from here to here. And I'm doing it just by using simple wording and simple tactics. You know what I mean? And I learned that all in corrections. If you can get 70 inmates to calm down, who a lot of them are people that are going to be in jail the rest of their lives. Okay, if you can get 70 inmates, you can deal with 10 people on the road. No problem. So.
Do you think police officers are given too much power, like in the beginning, which is a good segue with why you think that you should work as a correctional officer before becoming a police officer? Because in a correctional officer standpoint, you're put on a job that might be just as dangerous as a police officer, but you have no gun, you have not as many of the tools that a police officer has.
I think corrections is more dangerous than being on the road. I got a lot of cops that get mad at me when I say that, but think about the weapons that can be made. Think about how they can get you into a corner. I'm talking real criminals. I'm not talking people that made mistakes. So if you become a correction officer, you're kind of they put your feet at the fire. You know what I mean? Where you got to know what you're doing quick, or you're going to quit. I've seen officers come into the job and not be able to handle it. Big dudes. You think they could run a unit. They can't handle it because they just don't know how to adapt to the setting. I mean, you got to remember something, that when you're a correction officer, you're kind of doing a bid. You know what I mean? You're not doing 24 hours a day. You're doing 8, 12, 16, whatever. But when that door locks behind you, that's a shitty feeling you got to get used to. You know what I mean? Because you go your whole life where you can go in and out of a room, no problem. Now you depend on somebody to open that door for you, okay? It's a crappy feeling. So that even happens as a correctional officer. I remember when that door first closed. I know I'm going off on a little tangent here, but when that door first closed on me, I was with my training officer, good guy, and I hear the boom, and I go, holy shit, I'm stuck. I'm in here. I got 16 inmates on one side, 16 on the other. I'm stuck here, you know? And it's a wake-up call. You become an adult quickly. With not having that experience and going on right into the job as an officer, especially at the age of 22, 23, 24, I don't think your maturity's there yet. I think that you think everything's black and white. I think that you think that you did something wrong, you're going to get a ticket for it. I don't think you think of discretion as much as you do if you have that time in the jail. And you realize, like I told you earlier, there's some things that you would enforce and some things that you might not enforce, okay? I don't think that you realize how important your words are and your tone of voice are. You quickly, if you yell at 32 inmates, it's not gonna go anywhere, you know? If you have in your mind that this is how I'm going to treat people, the way I treated prisoners fairly, don't take away their dignity, treat them fairly, and you do that on the street, you're going to have success. So the whole thing is, I look at corrections, if you're not going to do it as a career, I look at it like it should be a prerequisite to becoming a police officer. It teaches you so much.
Are you struggling to find the perfect holiday gift? Meet Aura Frames, guys. If you are a last-minute shopper like me, you know how stressful it can be to find something thoughtful as the holidays get closer and the stores start looking empty, or you miss that Amazon Prime delivery deadline. But don't worry, I found the perfect solution. Aura frames. Let me tell you about my experience. I ordered this for my mom, and I'll be wrapping it up right after this. I got the wrapping paper in the studio office ready to go. But before I do, I wanted to show it to you and tell you why it's such an amazing gift. Aura frames are the #1 rated digital picture frame by Wirecutter, The Strategist, and Wired, and for good reason. I've already loaded it with our favorite family photos, special memories from trips, holidays, and moments that mean the most. I can't wait to see her reaction when she opens it. My mom is very big on the sentimental gifts, and I'm sure she's going to love it. And the best part, even after I gift it, I can keep adding photos to the Aura app, and the rest of my family can join in too. It's incredibly easy to use, no complicated setups or tech headaches. Even grandma can swipe through her favorites with a simple touch. And right now, you can skip the last-minute panic and get an incredible deal. Visit auraframes.com and use promo code LOCKEDIN to get $35 off their best-selling Carver matte frame. That's AURA frames.com, promo code LOCKEDIN. This offer is exclusive to listeners, so don't wait. Grab yours now and make this holiday unforgettable. Aura Frames, the gift that keeps on giving. Terms and condition apply. I hope you guys enjoy your Aura Frames for whoever you're giving it to and have a happy, healthy holiday season and new year. Now let's get back into today's episode. Yeah, even the culture, like different cultures. Like if you grew up as a white kid in the suburbs and then become a young police officer, you're not experiencing all these different cultures that you would in like a prison setting.
I grew up a white boy in a middle-class neighborhood, ranches, okay? I went to elementary school with one black kid. I went to public school up till 9th grade. 9th grade to 12th, I went to parochial school. Again, 2 black people. So no Hispanics, no Asians. So then you go from that to where you're in a block and you're the white guy. And there's 32 Hispanics and black males, okay? They're looking at me like I'm a privileged white boy, okay? And they're not going to listen to me, okay? These guys are from the street, a lot of these guys. They're not going to listen to anything I say, okay? And you learn how to get them to realize that you're a good guy and you're not judging them. It helps so much. You know what I mean? As far as to get through your 8 hours or your 12 hours. You know, I understand that you're innocent until proven guilty. But there's many people, I think it's gotten better with officers, but there's many officers that will think you're guilty till proven innocent. Okay. Well, how can you be in jail if there's not enough against, you know what I mean? I always thought before, everybody in jail's guilty. There's innocent people that are in jail right now. I hate to tell you. Okay. There's people that are serving more time than they should be serving. Okay. I was talking about that episode where the marijuana. Mm-hmm. How can you now say in New York State marijuana is legal up to a certain amount, and then you have prisoners that are doing time for marijuana? How can you do that? You have to go back. And you have to change their sentences, sentence served, or whatever it may be. That's just wrong. But that's a whole new thing. I mean, there's a whole another thing. But yeah, it's one of those deals where, you know, you realize a different type of category. You also realize that if they had the parents I had, they might not be in the situation I was in. They're in. I'm sorry. If they had the love and support, they might not be in the situation they're in right now. There's a lot of people that follow in their parents' footsteps. You know what I mean? My father was a fire chief. My uncle was a deputy fire chief. My cousins were cops and firemen. So we're all following each other's footsteps. But what if your father was a criminal? Okay? You literally have family members that are in there. Hey, can you give this commissary to my father? He's in A block. You know what I mean? And that's a wake-up call. You're like, wow, your freaking father's in jail with you? You know what I mean? And it makes you say to yourself, if they had what I had, they might not be here.
That's why I always start at the person's childhood, because you get to know the person before they committed that crime and the factors.
Right. That initial startup, don't get me wrong, there's people that when you get to a certain age, I think you know the difference between right and wrong. Okay, I don't mean that. There's people that have good lifestyles and do something wrong. Doesn't mean that they don't get a second chance, and doesn't mean that people don't make mistakes. We make them all the time. I make them all the time. But if you had the support that I had, you know what I mean, it would be different. Just in my career, I think that my career turned this one certain way because things that happened to me when I was a senior in high school. My mother passed away when I was 2 months from graduating from high school. And I wanted it to always be culinary arts. I love cooking to this day, okay? And my father, my sister, I had 3 older sisters. They were out of the house. It was me and my father. So instead of doing culinary arts, I stayed at a local college. I went to local community college, and I was going for, believe it or not, be a gym coach, okay? Started taking all these courses, biology, chemistry. I'm like, what the hell's this got to do with freaking gym? I sucked at it, right? So my buddy says, take criminal justice. 3 classes are simple. So I started taking criminal justice classes, and they're easy. All right. Well, what happens when you take criminal justice classes? You hang out with people that want to be correction officers and want to be cops. Okay. So it starts getting in your mind. Right? My father was a fire chief. I could have it was a 100-man paid department. I could very easily been a fireman, work 1 day on, 3 days off. Not saying it's a dangerous job. It is. Okay. But it's not as much stress as corrections of police. Sorry, fireman, but it's just true. So that same friend says to me, hey, I just got a job at the county jail. I'm making $19,000 a year. Well, 1990, $19,000 a year is pretty good money for a young kid by himself, right? I'm able to move out of my father's house. My father can continue his life, start dating women, things like that. I've given him his freedom back, and I did that. Well, when I start working corrections, guess who corrections officers are? Now, very few want that as a career, especially at the county level. They're looking for either police or they're looking for state corrections or federal corrections. So when I started that job at the jail, all guys I hung out with wanted to be cops. Started taking cop tests. Okay. Then I go from the county that I'm working in corrections to road patrol. Now I'm working in rural policing. So I go from a jail where I'm dealing with a majority of minority to working the county rural, okay? Because we have 2 cities in my county, 3 cities in my county. One's really small. The other 2 cities are ran by a city police department, okay? So you're not in those cities. You're in the rural area. Now I'm back to where I grew up. You know what I mean? I'm back to mostly white people, okay? And then you're dealing with a type of crime is, the white trash guy getting bombed up in his trailer, coming out the back and shooting a shotgun off his, that kind of crap. You're also dealing with domestics and all that. And you're dealing with, state troopers are your backup. So you're dealing with a different animal. So then I go from county, rural, to they're starting this new drug task force. Do you want to be an investigator in a drug task force? Want to put in for it. I was the youngest guy. I get it. So I go from that. Now I'm back in the city again, okay? And I'm realizing that, holy cow, this is a totally different atmosphere again. I'm doing search warrants in inner city, and it's another freaking wake-up call. You know what I mean? It's another learning experience. It's just my career, it seems as if at the time I was making these moves, I didn't realize how influential those moves would be to me in my mindset later on in life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does that make any sense? It's like that molded me into my brain, having this whole opinion of the law enforcement, judicial system, corrections, et cetera. I have a totally different mindset than I had in the beginning.
Did you ever think you were going to become a cop when you were a kid?
No, I got to tell you, I was a mama's boy. My sisters make fun of me. They're like, "Oh my God, you were the biggest wimp," Like I was taller than everybody, and the kids I hung out with, so nobody bothered me. I wasn't a wimp when it comes to my fellow friends. But when I was in my house, scared of the dark, scared of this, scared of that. You know what I mean? So my sisters make fun of me. Like, how the hell did you ever make undercover buys? How the hell did you? And I sit back and I'm like, well, I don't know how I did it.
And you're very tall. Like you stick out. Like you could control a room. So I can't even see you as an undercover.
Well, so the unit that I was in, the drug task force, it was 6 or 7 of us sheriffs, 6, 7 of the PDs, and a couple of little villages that came in, a couple guys came in. And we all had the balls to do the job and make buys and everything. I did a handful of buys. I didn't do as many buys as some guys. Some guys loved doing the buys because it was easy, because all you did was a buy sheet afterwards. Like, they were lazy, but they had no problem putting their life on the line, because when they came back, they're like, a guy named T-Bone sold me this, and then you find out, you as a case agent got to identify him, come up with a 6-pack of them to pick out of, show him, and he picks the guy out, and then the next thing is grand jury, he testifies, and then the rest of the day he's off. You know what I mean? He's just chilling. So those guys did a lot of buys like that. But what I did was, when I was in Narcotics, is I grew my hair, and I grew a nasty goatee. I mean, it was like I never trimmed it. You know what I mean? It was just like gooey and nasty. And I showered, and there was some guys that took it a little too far, like they didn't shower, But anyways, I was clean, but I looked like shit. I remember when I realized that I had a good look is when I was Christmas shopping and security started following me around the store. That's when I realized that I had a good look. And I always used to wear this green army coat, okay? And I pretended like when I make a buy that I wanted to be a black guy. I would talk, yo, man, I talk like that. And it was just, and I'd put tape in the corner of my glasses like they were broken. And I'd tip them to the side a little bit like they weren't fitting my face properly. And I would take this do-rag. It was a Yankee handkerchief. And I used to tie it, picture this. I used to tie it on my fucking head, tie a knot in the back. The hair would come out the back. And I would look like a freaking idiot. You know what I mean? I knew I was not going to win any prizes for beauty. But the one time we had an officer in charge. His name was Benny, great cop. He says to me, he goes, John, I want to use you with this guy later on this afternoon. We're bringing him in. He'll be in the front room. We had this. It was an old firehouse, and one stall firehouse. It was beautiful. We could bring our snitches in through this one garage door. And all the windows were tinted out. Nobody could see in. We'd bring them in a tinted car, bring them in. We'd freaking brief them, debrief them, whatever, okay? Who can you buy from, all that kind of stuff. In the front room, which was the old living room for the firemen. And then in the back, where the dormitory was, were all our offices. It was a beautiful setup. So anyways, Benny says to me, I want you to meet this guy. I want you to make buys with him, do some buys with him. I'm like, okay. So that afternoon comes, and he's meeting with him. I walk in the room. And the kid goes, oh, man, he looks like a cop. Freaking, he ain't buying nothing. He looks like a cop. I go, don't worry, man. I'll be all right. So he goes, all right, if you say so. He goes, but we ain't going to be able to buy shit. So I go in the back room. He's talking to Benny some more. I get into my outfit I just told you, right? Tape in my corner, my glasses, tip them, do-rag, right? Put on my green coat. Benny puts him in the unmarked, undercover car, this piece of shit Grand Am we used to drive. And I get in the driver's seat. So Benny's opening up the garage door, and I'm like this, backing up. And I could see this kid staring at me, and I could feel him. And I go, what? He goes, oh, yeah. yeah, we're going to be good. It's going to be good, right? So I went with him for a little bit, and we made some buys. But back then, you're talking 97, 01. It was crack epidemic. We dealt very little heroin at the time. I had 3 heroin snitches the whole time I was there. And after the third one, I says, I refuse to take a heroin snitch, because crackheads will come in and they'll work their charge off. I know they're still using crack. We're not stupid. You know what I mean? They're dealing with me during the day or afternoon. Other hours, they're buying it for themselves to smoke. I get all that. But heroin addicts, I remember we had a guy, I want to talk to an investigator. I want to work. Okay, who can you do? And he had some good targets. So I said, all right, listen here, motherfucker. We're getting you out. And I'm telling you, Monday morning, you better fucking call me. If you don't fucking call me, I'm getting a warrant on you. I'm coming to get your ass. You understand me? You're going to jail. I'm going to tell the judge that you didn't cooperate. You broke our balls, and you're going to be fucked. Okay? I mean, I'll give that speech. Okay? All 3 of them. Monday morning, I got nothing. Okay? That's when I said to myself, heroin is a powerful drug. Okay? They didn't give a shit about, they promised me the world. And then Monday morning came, they freaking were getting heroin, doing their thing. Crackheads, they'd call you Monday morning. They'd show up. You know what I mean? I know they were still smoking, like I said, but heroin addicts, they wouldn't care. They were on the street and they're doing their thing. And, you know, I went through my promise. I mean, I got a warrant. I found them again, but they were never working it off. But the crackheads, oh my God, they would have felony possession charges and they would work it off to ACDs, you know what I mean? As far as, don't do it again and, you know, let it go. I've seen felonies go down to nothing. You know, and that's like we're talking about the system. The more people you know that are bad people that you can do, the better you are as far as if you're a snitch, to get out of it. Okay? If you're not a snitch and you take the hit, then you take the hit. If you're in the game, I feel as if you're in the game, you should be able to take the hit. If you are one of those guys that snitches and you know a lot of people, you do very, very well for yourself. The person that goes to prison is a lot of times the person that he can't snitch because all he's doing is getting in for himself. You know what I mean? He's got nobody to do. You know? So you know, that's the kind of the problem that I have with the system there is that, you know, you're doing this guy, he's got a freaking C felony and you're doing him hard. While this guy, I understand he did a couple guys, but man, freaking 2 to 4 for possession. You know what I mean? It kind of threw me off a little bit.
Behind closed doors, are you guys as cops, you know, laughing at how there really is no honor among a lot of these guys and that they're all kind of flipping on each other and advancing their own causes?
Yes, and you know what it seems to be? The guys that flip more are the ones that come across as the Billy Badasses. The ones, don't fuck with him. He'll fucking kill you. All that kind of stuff. And you get them in a room and they're like, blah, blah, blah. They're doing their guy. We did a wire. It was my wire with my OIC and me. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying when I say it's my wire, those wires are a freaking division thing. You have to have many people to do wires because the surveillance goes along with it. Working the wire room goes along with it. And it was Jamaican wire. And we had to have people come up from New York City from the FBI that spoke patois. And they were able to interpret the Jamaican, because he talking Jamaican. And they would sit there. They stayed at a nice hotel right next door to the FBI headquarters in upstate New York. And they would come in during the day, and all they do is listen to Jamaican all day. And it was the same rule. So let's say they were listening to Jamaican, and he was just talking about Jamaica and, you know, I'm going back and all that kind of stuff. They'd have to go down on the wire. Did you know, you're familiar with that or no?
About the wires itself?
Yeah. So like if I'm listening to you and you're talking to your wife, all right, okay, Ian's phone just went up. Okay, boom. Listen, right? Hey, honey, all right, what do I need? I need milk. I need eggs. All right, I'll be home in a little bit. If you're not talking about drugs, I got to go down. I got to put it where I'm not listening.
It's like first 30 seconds or something.
And then I spot check you. Okay? So if she's listening, if the Jamaican agent is listening to it, and they're talking in Jamaican and they're not talking about narcotic-related activity, she's got to go down on it. Same freaking thing. And then she goes spot check it, and he could be talking about drugs. But there was, I mean, you know, even with that, this guy that we did, and I'm sure with the federal level, you're familiar with the different levels you can be. And this guy, with all his charges and past history, was a level 42, which I think it was 42. It's the highest level you could be. He was facing life in prison, okay? So when we took him down, he gave his guy up in the city, okay? Right there and then, ordered up a key. They went down, FBI in New York, picked him up with the key. This guy was Jamaican. Our guy that snitched on him said, they're going to kill my family in Jamaica. He goes, they're all done. He goes, but they're on their own. Like, I couldn't imagine doing that. You know what I mean? If there was a possibility of my family being hurt, I would take the hit. If I'm in that business, you know what I mean? I would take that hit. So anyways, we arrested him. He gave up. We debriefed him every week for a whole year. 2 days a week, I drive out to Syracuse, and I'd go with the FBI agent, and we'd pull him out, and we'd debrief him. And we'd also debrief some of the other people that he was with. I'm sorry, that went down in the war. 27 people went down, and we would debrief them to see if they wanted to cooperate or if they wanted to give more information, et cetera, or not. Out of all the 27, 3 of them went to trial. And our guy testified against 3 of them, okay? So now remember, he did his guy in New York, He debriefed twice a week for, once a week, because once a week we debriefed him, and the other day we debriefed another prisoner. And then he testified against 3 of his co-defendants, all right? He got 10 years, all right? So now, if he did that on the state level and testified against all those people, he would have gotten county a year, okay? Because federal level is just huge compared to state. State conspiracy in the state of New York, if you and I conspire to commit a B felony, it's like an E felony. I might be wrong, it might be a D. If you conspire, if you and I are sitting there and they go federal with the charges, you're talking time.
And it's hard to win.
Oh, you're done. When we in any case that we did, you were talking about evidence, things like that, as far as surveillance and as far as audio. Anything that we did, we attempted to have recorded, and or videotaped. You know what I mean? So this drug task force that I was in was dealing with mid-level to high-level dealers. So when we got these dealers, these low-level guys, we turned them right around and wanted to work with them. I mean, if they did not want to work, then they just kept their local charge, But here's the funny thing: is the best snitches that we got were from our nearby mall. Okay, it was in a nice town, and they were all boosting to support their habit. Okay, so we would get the best snitches because they're drug addicts. Okay, we had one guy that was buying drugs, an undercover was buying drugs with clothes. Okay, so he makes 2 buys from this guy, and this guy goes, "Yo, man, where you get your money, man?" And he goes, "I boost." And he goes, "You boost?" It's on tape. He goes, "You boost?" And he goes, "Yeah, I boost, man." And he goes, "Well, hook me up, man." And he tells him his sizes. Okay, and then you hear him yelling to his girl, "Yo, babe, what's your sizes?" Right? She yells the sizes to him, right? So the next day, our cops are shopping. Okay, they're taking seized money that they got from the DA's office. Okay, and the DA knows all about it. I mean, he doesn't care how you get the drugs. If you're using that money to buy clothes, that'll get drugs. He would come with all the girls' sizes, all the guys' sizes, big bag full of stuff, and give it to him, and the guy would give him a certain amount of drugs for the clothes. I've never seen that again. It was like a barter system. It was freaking. Wow. It was cool.
That's
cool.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, now, when you were working in corrections, did you encounter a lot of like jailhouse snitches, like guys willing to do stuff to get better accommodations in the jail?
No, I don't. No, I don't think I was at that level. Being a 20-year-old kid, I worked 20 to 24 there. I was more corrections block officer. Corrections is a big turnover rate. So a couple years in the county jail, next thing you know, you're working the hallway. It was a huge, long hallway. It had, I think, 10 blocks. We had about 400 prisoners. And we had about 3 or 4 guys called runners. So anytime A block wanted something, A block the runner, block door, go to black door, get them whatever they wanted. There was a medical assistance call, flight, anything like that, you would go on that. No, it was one of those deals where you had internal affairs that was from the road patrol. So if they want, I remember at times bringing guys over to road patrol. You know what I mean? Like, get prisoner Johnson for mental health, and you pull out Johnson, and all of a sudden the sergeant goes, "Bring him over to next door." So he's under the grounds. He's telling people in his block he's out for mental health, and he's really going to snitch. So I know there was people that were telling on people, but as far as me dealing with them particularly where they told me what was going on, no, I didn't really deal with it.
What do you think was the most eye-opening thing you saw as a brand new, young kid on the job?
The fights that I saw, the severity of the fights opened my eyes. I grew up around kid fights, you know what I mean? When you see 2 men fighting and they're caught and, there's a razor involved and things like that, that opens your eyes quick. The other thing was money. I never realized how much money makes everybody tick. Everybody wants money. It's all prisoners talk about is money, 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 making the game, doing the game. Guys rapping and, and I got this music, I'm going to go do this, I'm going to do that when I get out, all that kind of stuff. And God bless them. I mean, they have things that they're looking forward to, and I wish them success. But, you know, a lot of them you'd see rotating door in and out, you know. The thing with the county jail was that, and I know you've had people on before that explain it, but you have people in there that are doing 15 days, and you have people in there that are pre-trial for a serious charge, and murder or whatever. Then you have people that are sentenced, and then they're waiting state ready. So they could wait state ready for 2 months. Now, all that time counts, but until, you know, the state says, we'll take you, they have to sit there in the county jail. So you got everybody from the minimal charge to the highest charge. And your classification officer has to know what the hell they're doing. They got to make sure that they're putting the prisoners in the proper setting. When I worked in that jail, we had an overcrowding situation. And we had 7 trailers that they attached to the end of the jail. So like at a system like this in a circle. And, you know, the classification officer's got to make sure he's not putting somebody in there that's facing a lot of time. Because it takes 2 prisoners to pop that back trailer door. I mean, they had it sealed and all that kind of stuff, but come on, give me a break. And it's not like the razor wire that you have in these state prisons and these other, it seemed like a little bit easier to get around. So you had to have them properly secured. And I didn't have they didn't have a pod system then. It was linear. So bars everywhere. So they had 2 dorms that were supposed to have 11 prisoners in, and turned out that we put 22 in each one. We double bunked them. And then there was, let's see, 3 blocks that had 32 inmates in each, 16 on each side. Some of them were constant supervision. Some of them were active supervision. I got a great story about a constant supervision. We had I apologize for this. And it's not a priest, but what do you call the person that's like the Muslim priest?
Oh, the imam?
Yeah, okay.
Is that the imam? Sorry if I'm not saying that correctly.
Yeah, I apologize for not knowing it. Yeah. But he comes in and so my sergeant goes, call the units for Muslim services. So I said, run in all units, get your Muslim services to the door. Copy A, copy B, copy C, right, okay. So Muslim services were mostly black males, okay? And our units that were constant supervision were mostly white people. Now, some of them were out there. Some of them were fucked up, mentally ill. But a lot of white guys were in there because they're punks and they couldn't handle being in the regular population, okay? They would just they would get punked down for everything. And some of the white guys in there were child molesters. So you'd always hear the units that were minority-based units. You'd hear, Baker got 4 at the door. Charlie got 4 at the door, okay? So I'm popping the door, walking to the chapel. They're getting in the chapel. All of a sudden I hear, David, 1 at the door. Now, David is a constant supervision unit. 31 of the 32 are white guys, okay? I pop the door, and it's this freaking chomo, right? And I go, it's Muslim services. It's not Catholic services. It's not Protestant services. What are you doing? He goes, I'm going upstate. I go, yeah? He goes, I'm trying to find a home. He's thinking that the Muslims are going to take care of him, okay? So he's got the thing on his head. He's got a blanket. He goes into the services, okay? So I doing my normal thing up and down the hallway, and I'm walking by, and they're doing prayers, and he's on his knees, and he's bending and all that stuff, and I'm going, there's no way the Muslims are going to accept him once they realize what his charges are. You know what I mean? This guy's an idiot. But he thought that he had to attach to some type of group and stay in prison in order to get along. You know what I mean? Once you get that child molester type of stigma on you, you're fucking done. You're cooked.
Yeah.
You're cooked. Before the interview started, I want to tell you.
Yeah, tell us the Chomo story, and then I got to ask you about the spade story you got too.
Okay, that's another story.
Give us the Chomo one.
That's going to blow your mind. So I'm working, David left, and I walk in. I'm at afternoons, I'm working 3 to 11. I walk in, I smell sour milk, and piss. I'm thinking, what the hell happened? The guard wasn't gassed. It was this prisoner in cell 1. And I said, what happened? He goes, I can't remember the guy's name. I picture his face. And he goes, they've been freaking gassing this guy all day long. And I go, why? He goes, He's in PC. He's a freaking child molester, right? So, because back then we were so packed. We didn't have a PC unit. If you were PC, you were locked in a cell. Everything was taken away like you're in a strip cell. Deck swinging, okay? No mattress, steel bunk. You're talking a type of setting that would just make anybody go crazy, okay? Property box gone, no commissary, nothing. PC was as bad as strip cell, okay? But like I said, we didn't have enough. We had to put them amongst other prisoners. You're locked in your cell. And it was bars. It wasn't like a door where you couldn't get anything through. So there was 15 other inmates on that side. So anytime the CO went to do a thing, to do a tour, and he's down a 16 cell, you'd hear splash, splash, shah, and then the kid going, right? They're poking him with a broom. They're doing everything they could possibly do to this kid. So I get there and I go, I can't take this smell all night. So it was shift change, so everybody's still locked in. So I pop one cell. I go, one cell, get in the shower. You freaking stink. So he gets in the shower, cleans up. I go, I got a bucket, mop. I go, clean your cell. Cleans his cell. Now it's starting to smell a little bit better, right? It's 3:30, 3:40. I go to do a tour. I walk down the tour. I hear a splash, splash. I go, oh no, right? I come back, kid's covered. He's got freaking sour milk clinging to his face. I go, what the hell happened? He goes, yo, can I get a shower? I go, no, I'm not doing this all freaking night long. I go, you're beat. What am I going to do? So then I found out what he did. Now, any degree of child molestation, you're done in my book. But this is the guy that changes you. You know what I mean? Like when you look at this guy, it changes your perspective of life. This is a point in my life where I started to look at things differently, okay? He had trouble, I know you might want to cut this because it's bad, but he had trouble penetrating his niece, so he made it bigger with a knife.
Holy shit.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So he deserved everything he fucking got, okay? Not only is he a criminal, he's mentally ill, you know what I mean? But to do that, it just changed my life, you know what I mean? That along with a couple of other things in my career really gave me. Did you ever see like they say cops want to sit in a corner of the room and they want to look out and everything, and cops are paranoid. The cops are that. Did you ever see the cops? I call it the cop stare. Did you ever see the cop stare?
I'm sure that I've had one stare me down.
No, not staring you down. No, not staring you down like profiling anybody. Okay. I'm talking the retired cop stare. I catch myself doing it where I'm just like this, and things pop into my mind, and I get carried away with it. I start rethinking things. You know what I mean? That's where I think that police officers have a problem with their mental health, is because they're keeping it in their mind. I run it through my mind, but I'm saying to myself, I can't keep this in my head. I got to let this go. And I let it go. You know what I mean? I have a good support system. I have cops that are retired, cops that are still working that I talk to. I've never gone to like a counselor to talk to anybody, but especially when I started in 94 on the road, if you said, oh, this scene's bothering me, I got to go see a counselor. You know what these fellow cops say to me? A fucking pussy. Come on, man. Suck it up, right? If you see dead children, you need to talk to somebody about that stuff. You know what I mean? SIDS deaths. A woman had a child in a bed that was sick. She rolled over in a bed and suffocated the child on accident. But you get there at 7:00 in the morning. You're getting ready to come home, and all of a sudden, you're like this, and all of a sudden your adrenaline's pumping because you're flying to a call where they're trying to resuscitate a child. And you get there and a child's dead. So that's where that stare comes. You know what I mean? That's where I think of these things that happened in my career. I catch myself doing it, and then I say to myself, "You got to let that go. You got to move on in life. You have to accept it happened, and you have to move on in life. Because if I continually think about it, it puts me in a mood. You know what I mean? It depresses me. You know?
I mean, I'm the same way when I hear some of these stories. Like I feel for these people.
Yeah. So. There's stories like that, but the story that bothers me is I was a sergeant. I made it up to captain, But I was a sergeant the first time. I was sergeant twice. I actually got in trouble, and they took my rank away from me, and I built it back up. Okay, that's another whole podcast.
A police captain, you became.
I became retired as a police captain.
Okay.
But at the time, I was a sergeant. So sergeants are on the road. We're like the patrol supervisor. Okay, and I get sent to, and we would go to serious calls. So I get sent to possible unattended death. We will get them working midnights. We get them in the morning, 6, 7 o'clock when, they realize Grandpa had a heart attack. Okay. So I'm thinking it's something like that. We get there and I walk up the stairs, and it's a poor section of town. I walk up the stairs and there's the fire department. It's right behind the fire department. So the fire department was there quick. And one of the guys comes out that I knew, and he go like this, no good. So I look in the bathroom, and there's a woman that a lot of people die on the toilet. I don't know if you knew that or not. They have when they're starting to feel as if they're going to die, they feel a feeling like they got to evacuate, and they get on the toilet. So I was thinking it was one of those. Well, she was sick. She had a port came out, blood all over the place. It was a mess. So I look in the bathroom. I see her clearly, deceased. She must have done this in the middle of the night. Husband found her. Now, it's just her husband standing there, and he's got his 6-year-old son standing next to him. And he's wearing pajamas, reminding me of my son, okay? And he's going, why aren't they taking her? Why aren't they taking her? And I go, sir, can I talk to you for a minute in the other room, just me and you? Because it's my responsibility as a sergeant. I got to let him know his wife passed away, okay? And there's going to be people coming to investigate it. There's going to be pictures taken, et cetera. And the kid's clinging on to his leg. Well, I got really good officers working with me. They're trying to get the boy's attention. Hey, come over here. Come with me. Come on outside. I want to show you the police car, all that kind of stuff, okay? He's not budging. He's on his father's leg. And I go, hey, can you go with the officer? I go, and he's not leaving. And he goes, well, just tell me. He goes, why aren't they taking him? I go, sir, can I talk to you in the other room? Finally, he goes, just tell me what's going on. So I finally had to say, so I go, she didn't make it, sir, right? And I look down, and I see this freaking 6-year-old's eyes. And he knew what it fucking meant, you know what I mean? And he got welled up like I am now. And I just ruined this kid. But those words I just fucking said, I ruined him. How does a child move on from that? 6 years old or not, 10 years old or not, to tell them their mother just died in the bathroom. You know what I'm saying? He didn't see the blood. Now, we closed the door, of course, and we treated her with respect and all that. But to tell somebody that and to tell it to an adult is one thing, but to tell it and have a child absorb that and realize that I am the person that said those words, where that kid heard that freaking left a mark in me. That really did. I went home. I could not sleep all day. You know what I mean? I had a couple beers. It was my wife was working during the day, so my son was in school, so it was one of those days where I was by myself. I'm not saying that I felt like I was going to hurt myself or anything like that, but it just sucked, And then it's one of those things where, like the firemen will always say, hey, we get our trouble out at the kitchen table. Well, we get our trouble out at coffee shops. You know what I mean? So that night, I had a couple cups of coffee with my buddy, and we talked about it. You know what I mean? And I felt better, and he said words that made me feel better. But still, this was 20-something years ago. Mm-hmm. This person's now an adult. You know what I mean? And it's still stuck in me. So, you think about these cops and these correction officers that have seen all these things, okay? And, I know that as a prisoner, people have seen things, but they've mostly seen adults getting hurt and killed. It's different when you see a child killed in a car accident. You see drowning. You see SIDS deaths. It's different. It's not the same. It's not as an adult. As an adult, like an overdose or things like that, nobody, of course, wants to see anybody dead, but they're like, nobody forced a needle in their arm. You know what I mean? With a child, it's innocent, so that sticks in you. But
it's also very one-sided from like an inmate's perspective, because they don't really ever think to care about what you went through or what you saw. Like a fight between two inmates that resolves in someone dying, you're only looking at it yourself. You're not thinking about the correctional officers who had to clean up the mess or who had responded to the call. You're not thinking about any of that.
Right.
Even if you're out on the street committing a crime, the agents that showed up to that, the law enforcement officers that showed up to that.
Right. Yeah, exactly. My father always said 10% of everything is assholes. And so when I sit here and I tell you that, if I make it sound like, oh, this guy we've been through, I would say guys that have done 20 years have seen a pretty good amount. I did 34. But if I sit here and tell you that every correction officer and every patrol officer are good people, that's a lie. There's some people that I would not let investigate a crime against my family. Who's investigating that? No. We're doing, somebody else is doing this. Okay. As a captain, I've taken people off of cases that I know suck and put in a patrolman that knows going to do a good job. So, if you think about it, I had 77 officers. What's 10% of that? It's about right. Okay. In the jail, we had guys that treated people like shit. We had guys that talked down to people. We had guys that would mess with people. Leave them the fuck alone, man. Let them do their time. Like I said, the child molester, do whatever the fuck you gotta do with them. I don't care. I mean, when they say that the inmates take care of child molesters, I agree with that, 100%. And I honestly think that correction officers will turn to the side and like they're not paying attention, like they don't see nothing. That's selective sight, selective hearing, and I have used that. I'll be the first to tell you I've used that with child molesters. Do what you got to do, these freaking guys. Same thing with like elderly. I don't have any, you're doing something. I have a problem with a victim. You know what I mean? Like a legitimate victim. Adults, I don't really get too much thinking about it, but like a mentally challenged person, if you're screwing with somebody, a mentally challenged, or if you're screwing with an elderly person, or if you're screwing with a child, that to me is like a true victim. And I don't care for that. Anything else that really happened, that's on you. And if you made that mistake, then get your second chance and straighten yourself out. Like the many stories that have been on here that you've talked about where these guys have talked about where they're starting rehabs and things like that. I hear that stuff. I'm like, that's freaking wonderful. You know what I mean? But, there's people out there that would be like, thinking, this guy must be an idiot. He's sticking a needle in his arm and things like that. No, there's people that have been on pain for their knees, done that opiate, okay, done that hydro, whatever it is, and the doctors cut them off. And next thing you know, they're dope sick and they're using heroin. I can see that happening to people, can't you? Yeah. People that are intelligent people, they don't want to be sick, so they start doing it. So
it happens to average everyday people.
Everyday people.
All the time.
Yeah. And like I said in the beginning of the interview, I didn't have that benefit of the doubt type of sense before. These 34 years have taught me that we are all the same. We make mistakes. We get to forks in the road where you took the wrong fork. Okay, you were raised differently than me. You didn't have the proper people backing you. Not saying that if you could have a great life and still make mistakes. I'm not saying that, or be the type of person that thinks they can do whatever the frick they want to. There are people out there that are like that. There are narcissist people out there that just do what they want to do, and there are prisoners out there that need to be locked away for the rest of their freaking lives. There's people that are very dangerous people that are incarcerated, but on the flip side of that, there are people that have made mistakes. And I never thought of that when I first started. I never thought of that. Like I'd have friendships with people in there, like you had a jailer on that was talking about how he'd eat the noodles out of a bag.
Nathan Carter. Yeah.
I'm not going to eat noodles out of a bag. But if I got a guy that comes out and I had a guy, he did 25 years. He killed a drug rival. And he'd come out and he would do a little cleaning for me, and I'd give him half my sub. Okay, and we talk, and we talk about women and girls and growing up and stuff like that. He was my age. He was from New York, came up here because when you are in New York and you're selling drugs, you come up here to upstate New York. You're talking 3 times the amount of money you could make. It's a 4-hour trip. Okay, so he got caught up here and went to our county jail. And Well, he got into a drug rivalry thing, but went to jail, and he did 25 years. And I'll tell you, I would look for. Oh, I'm working Baker today. Oh, I talked to Reggie. Good. I look forward to it. You know, that guy that we took down on the wire. I became friends with him. I was talking to him once a week for hours. You know what I mean? And he was a nice guy. Like we would me and the FBI agent would bring him, like, you know, he had his handcuffs on in the back seat. After the thing, we'd bring him to the Kentucky Chicken drive-thru, a Burger King drive-thru. Here's your food. You know, like we both liked him. You know, but we had to do our job. You know what I mean? But you know, we treated him. I thought we treated him fairly. You know what I mean? He was appreciative of the fact that we treated him with respect, and he kind of looked at it like it was a game, like a chess game. Like, all right, okay, we got you, checkmate. You know what I mean? We got you this time. You know, next time you might get away with it. You know, and that's kind of the way I looked at it. You know, there was guys that were dealing drugs and doing this and doing that. And I'm like, eventually we'll get them. You know what I mean? And when we did, you know, I treated him fairly. In the beginning, I'm not saying I treated him not fairly, but in the beginning, I wasn't talking to him then like a human being. You know what I mean? I was, you know, rude. You know, get in the fucking car, go to the station, get out. Come on, we got to process you. Let's go. You know, and then you're realizing he's in the judicial system now. This isn't you. Who are you to judge? You present the charges. You present the crime. You try to present it where there's beyond a reasonable doubt. Correct. You do all that. If you got him at this point, treat him with respect and dignity. You know what I mean? As long as he's not an asshole to you, don't be an asshole to him. And I learned that throughout the years. You know, and I'm hoping that people that watch this podcast, newer officers realize that I'm not saying you got to be a punk and not have a backbone. Have a backbone. Run your zone. Run your block. Okay, but do it in a manner where you treat people fairly. Just give them respect, and you're going to find out that you get a lot more with that. You get a lot less trouble. So.
No, you were just mentioning about rehabilitation and guys that should be in prison for life.
Yeah.
What do you feel about how do you feel about the Menendez brothers then?
Oh, about how it's coming back to
for resentencing. Do you feel like they should get out after 35 years?
I listened to a little bit of that. Is it because the fact is that they're molested? Is that what's going on?
That's a big piece of it. Yeah.
And they killed. All right. So then there was a problem with the fact that the one went back in and put more rounds into the mother, I think, or something like that.
I'm not sure those specifics, but I do know that they're revisiting it, one, because of their prison record, like of how they haven't had any violence or they've been rehabilitated, but two, because there was those reasons that they were molested, which I don't think ever made it into trial, or there were some things that didn't make it into trial. Yeah. But then on the flip side, and this is where I'm interested in like your, you know, law enforcement background, it was premeditated. They did plan it.
Right. Anybody that could kill anybody, it makes me, and premeditated, makes me think that something's not clicking up there. You know what I mean? Like, let's say they release them. I don't want to be neighbors with them. You know what I mean? I'm not going to lie to you. It's one hell of a chance they're taking as far as releasing them because of the premeditation thing. But then again, I mean, there's so much to that argument. But, you know, they were molested. What are you going to do if you're molested? Would you kill a person that molested you? I probably would. You know what I mean? I'd severely injure them, you know? So there's so much to it. Whoever makes the decision, judge that makes the decision, I pray for them, because can you imagine making that decision and they get out and then they do something horrific again? You know what I mean? I don't know the 100% particulars of the case, but do I think that there has something to do with the molestation causing the homicides? Yeah, of course. You know, but yeah, and to revisit it, that's fine. Revisit it. Were they talking about like retrying them?
No, the prosecutor recommended resentencing, but now it's got to go to a court, so a court's got to decide whether or not to pick it up or not.
Yeah, and this is in California, right?
California.
Yeah, California. They'll pick it up. Yeah, they'll pick it up. Like I said, I just don't know what it's going to be like as far as, and they did 35 years, right?
Yeah.
For a double homicide?
Yeah, but there's also plenty of those types of victims that don't go and kill their abusers too, on kind of like the flip side of it.
Yeah.
You know, it's a definitely a gray area.
It's definitely gray, and I feel for the person that has to make that decision. It's scary. The spade story.
Yeah.
So I'm on midnight shift, and to break up the monotony, they would switch us every half hour, okay? Like, let's say you started in David Left, and I started at David Right, 16 inmates, 12 o'clock, 12:30, I go to David Left, you go down to Henry Left. I go to David Left. Half an hour later, I go to Henry Left, you go to Henry Right. Okay, I'm following you all night, this guy's following me all night. So I'm in Adam Wright dorm, and it's wintertime, and I'm right near the heater, and it's like 3 o'clock in the morning. And there's 20, remember I was telling you it was a dorm that had 11 prisoners, and they had 22 in there, it was double bunked. 20 of them were sleeping. And I see in front of me 2 guys playing spades. And remember how they would drop them out, bam, it's on the table. They smack them on that picnic table. So I'm hearing this bam, bam, and the lights are out. It's just night lights on. These little brown, little dimmy ass lights that are above you. So I'm like this, and these 2 guys are there, and I fell asleep. I got lighted. I must have, one of these kind of things. Dangerous as all hell, I get it, but I'm a human. And you try getting in there. A midnight shift is not meant for people to, the human body's meant to sleep during the night, okay? I don't care if you slept 8 hours during the day, you're still gonna be tired at midnight shift, okay? So, and the heat's going, and I'm like, so I must have fell asleep. Well, I wake up to the sound of moaning, okay? Oh, right? So I go, what the fuck? I look, 2 prisoners are gone, right? It's a dorm that's got a fence and a walkway through it, and there's 22 prisoners, and then this part is 2 sinks, 2 showers, and a bathroom. And it's a heavy set curtain that's the shower, and it's right next to the bars. So I'm thinking to myself, if I call for fucking assistance or whatever, right? They're gonna be like, why did you let them in the shower in the first place? Okay, where were you, right? I had to admit that I was sleeping, right? So I'm like, I'm not going to do that. This is like in a 2-second thing in my mind, okay? I'm going, what the fuck do I do, right? So I go, and I just moved the thing a little bit, and I realized what the hell's going on, right? And I go, hurry the fuck up, right? Like, get it over with, right? So all of a sudden, they stop. They realize that I caught them, right? And then they go to their bunks, and the whole time I'm like, holy fuck, where am I freaking working? I got to get out of this fucking place. But it was one of those deals where if the COs came back there, I would have got my balls broken. You know what I mean? So then the guy comes in to relieve me, follows me. He's like, everybody sleeping? I'm like, yeah, everything's good. Everybody's quiet. That was it. But, and that's the whole thing with I don't know how it is in the federal level, but everybody thinks that, oh, you're going to county jail, don't drop the soap on that. I never saw what I saw was if you were homosexual, you were homosexual, and you could do whatever you wanted to do. But I never witnessed anybody getting taken from or reported anything like that. You know what I mean? I never heard of any type of rapes, at least at the county level. I don't know if it's like that at the state, but it seemed as if you were gay or anything like that, there was always somebody that they could be with.
Yeah, I think it's more consensual than people would think. Not that inmates can technically give consent, but from what I've seen, there are some stories I've heard where it's not consensual, but that's also at higher penitentiary levels or anything like that. But most of the time it is consensual.
Yeah, and I definitely believe that there's intimidation. I definitely believe that guys are getting their commissary taken and all that.
There's extortion more than anything.
I definitely believe that, yeah. I saw that with my own eyes one time. I was in Baker, and I was putting in the trays, and this guy comes up, and he gets his tray, and there was 2 white guys and 14 black guys, and one of the white guys is still to this day a badass, okay? And nobody fucked with him. Knew all that karate crap, and but he was also a street fighter. So the other white guy takes his tray, and I'm giving the trays out, and I'm checking off Johnson, Bick, Reilly, whatever. Okay, I'm checking off. So then all of a sudden the white guy comes to the thing again. He goes, "Yeah, I need a tray," and I go, "I gave you a tray," and he goes, he's looking like this. I go, "If you got punked out for your tray, that's on you, my man. I can't. What do you want me to do? Right?" So Then I hear him talking to the other white guy. And the other white guy goes, go deal with it. He goes, it's going to be one-on-one. So now the guy that's representing the black guys comes over, and the white guy says, it's going to be one-on-one. He goes, I'm not letting him get jumped. He goes, it's going to be one-on-one. If he's got to handle it, he's going to handle it. But it's not going to be that. So they start fighting. Well, another brother jumps in, and then this white guy is like, no, that ain't happening. And I'm telling you, it was like watching a freaking Bruce Lee movie. Okay, it was like, you know in Bruce Lee movies where like he's fighting and he's waiting for the next guy to come in, and in real life, prisoners or fights, they'll just jump you. You know what I'm saying? It's not one of those deals where, okay, Ian's down, all right, this guy's coming in now. You know what I mean? It's not like that. That's what it was like in this fight. That's the way it looked like to me. It was like this guy's handling one guy, he handles him, then he's handling another, and I'm slowly calling for assistance. I'm like, Baker, I need assistance here. I got to fight. It was one of the best street fights I've ever seen in my life, you know? But yeah, it was a learning experience. It really was. That county jail molded me in so many ways.
Gave you great on-the-job experience.
Great on-the-job experience. Would I do it again? Fuck no.
It's not a great place to work. That's why they have so many issues hiring on the corrections level. Oh, but I bet you it would be solvable if they made policing a prerequisite, working corrections.
You'd have less police officers.
Well, but you have a lot of older school, like if you were to start it now, I think you have police officers, like the middle-aged older guys that are still on the force now. Yeah. You get the younger guys to do a couple of years in correction, then they're going into the force.
Yeah. You'd have so much more success in your law enforcement, your road patrol type of setting, if you had officers that did jail time. You'd have so many more confessions, in my opinion. You'd have so much more cooperation from people. The other thing is that, the empathy that people have towards people. If you can develop an empathy for a prisoner that's incarcerated, you can develop an empathy for anybody. Okay. It's hard to understand, but like what I'm saying is that, you got a guy that's done a crime. And like I said in the beginning of the interview, in the beginning when I started, I had an attitude that you're guilty. You know what I mean? Well, you're a piece of shit. You know what I mean? And now, as you got time on, I'm realizing, this is a decent person. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. I've had inmates that try to play me. You know what I mean? Like talk to me for this and that. A couple minutes, like, yo, man, you bring me in some smokes. I'm like, no, they bring no fucking smoke. I get jammed up, But so you have that aspect. I get all that. But there's legit guys in there that are decent people to hang out with. And, you're on your way home from work and you're like, I spent 8 hours talking to Riley. He's a freaking good dude, man. And that made me feel better, a little bit better in life too, because prior to that, I'm thinking, wow, man, when these guys get in, these inmates get released from jail, who are they going to hurt next? You know what I mean? That's not necessarily the case. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm not saying county jail rehabs anybody or state does, but a lot of these guys come out and are straight. They're doing the right thing. Some of them go back into the game. We all know that. But there's a good handful of people that do the right thing, and I enjoy seeing that success. You know what I mean? Who am I to judge? Being 55 years old now, I've come to the conclusion that I'm not God. You know what I mean? And people are going to do what they got to do in life, and they're going to answer to what they have done. So who am I to sit here and say, I'm not, you got tattoos all over you and your hair's not the way that I don't hang out with guys that style their hair like that. You know what I mean? Or, you're gay or you're this, you're that. Who the fuck am I to judge somebody? I'm nobody, man. You know what I mean? I want to treat everybody fairly and nice. I'm done having an attitude towards anything. I'm done with all that shit. You know what I mean? If you're cool with me, I'm cool with you. I don't care. You can have your opinion about me all you want. I'm there's times where the job that I'm working now, where I'm friends with people that other people are not friends with, and they're looking at me like, how are you talking to that guy? He's fucking weird. I'm like, not weird. He's a nice guy. I don't think I'm gonna have him over for dinner. You know what I mean? But he's a nice guy. So I kind of like what that career did for me now in my life. You know what I mean? The thoughts in my mind of the bad situations, I don't like what it did to me there. But I like what it did to me to realize that life is extremely fragile, that live your life, enjoy yourself, enjoy others, don't judge, okay? Let people be people. Let them do what they want to do. If they do something fucking wrong, they got to answer to St. Peter someday at that gate. It ain't me. That's St. Peter's got to talk to them about what they did in life, not me. So, as long as you're not hurting me or my family or my circle, I'm okay with you, And I try to portray that to my friends, like they get stressed out over little shit. I'm like, it's fucking money, dude. You'll figure it out. You know what I mean? You're not eating noodles and noodles. You know what I'm saying? You'll get through this, And I think that this law enforcement career has given me that in my mind. I think I'm living a better life than others now because of my mindset. I'm enjoying it. You know what I mean? Like I live in the moment because I realize how fragile it is. It could be taken away from you in a fucking heartbeat. I've seen people that their kids go on Halloween in a car with their buddies and they freaking die in a car accident. You know what I mean? And their fucking life changes like that. So I'm not living like that. I'm living my life like everybody's going to know that I love them. Everybody's going to know that I care for them. My dopamine is giving and helping people out, people that are having issues with money, I'll help out. I got a buddy of mine that's going through divorce. Come in and move with me, buddy. You won't owe me nothing. I don't want nothing from you. I just want you to get your shit together and get going in life again. You know what I mean? I like the fact that I look at life like that, Like I'm divorced, I'm dating a girl, but I'm not in any hurry. Like I feel as if I have to be married. I feel as if I have to have somebody live with me. You know what I mean? I got my dog. I got things that I do. You know what I'm saying? I'm enjoying life, man. Like everybody's, if Harris gets in, we're fucked. If Trump gets in, we're fucked. Come on, man. We live in America, dude. You know what I mean? I understand that there's problems, but I got some people that are telling me, if Harris lives, we'll be speaking Chinese in 6 months. No, we're not, dude. You know what I mean? Freaking China's not going to take us over. Give me a freaking break. You know what I mean? And I try to get these people to relax. You're in America. I mean, there's people that don't eat every day. You know what I mean? I came in here. We had a great time. I had an energy drink. You know what I'm saying? I'm sitting in a beautiful chair that I'm taking with me. I hate to tell you, I'm taking this freaking with me.
You wish.
Holy shit, this chair is nice. But you know what I'm saying, though? Like, you have to look at everything in a perspective.
Yeah.
Like that. And people aren't doing that.
I've learned that the hard way. I'm more patient now than ever. I'm just...
Right?
I used to be very impatient. And even when I got out of prison, I learned it over time.
Yeah.
And now it's less about like instant gratification, more playing the long game.
Yeah.
Like people are like, I'll meet a celebrity and everyone's like, oh, get them on the show, this and that.
Yeah.
To me, it doesn't matter. I'm still living my life. They're living theirs.
Right.
It'll happen eventually.
See, but and nothing against celebrities, but like, I wouldn't mind some of the pictures out there are cool. If I met some of those guys, it'd be great. But like, they're still people. You know what I mean? Like, like I enjoy meeting. I would enjoy meeting them, but like. And
those people enjoy listening to your stories. Like the individuals that sit in the chairs, they listen to the show. They watch the clips. I was talking to Jelly Roll, and he's like, "Dude, I love your stuff. Like I watch the clips."
Well, that's another thing. Think about Jelly Roll. Okay, like he's got the tats and this and that. Who is this guy? Right? And he opens his mouth, starts singing. You're like, this guy's talent. This guy's pretty freaking good. And then he opens his mouth and he's a nice guy.
He's a good dude.
He's a good dude, right? That Post Malone, holy crap, that guy's nice.
Yeah, there's a lot of good dudes.
You see the way he treats his fans? Gives him his shoes all the freaking time to these guys, signs them, walks through his shoes. So that's what I'm talking about.
You gotta be nice. Every person that walks in, I always offer them the studio over there that's down the hall.
Yeah.
You guys want to use it? Costs nothing but my time to just, let you use it.
Right.
I don't need to make money from that. I got my thing. I'm in my lane. I'm doing my thing.
Right.
And I'll help you. It's all about helping, because no one helped me when I was the nightclub owner. Everyone took advantage of me. Everyone was using me to make money.
Right.
So if I could give back in a little way like that, then I'm going to do that.
Nowadays, if you have somebody that does that to you, do you drop them like that? Because I do. If somebody's using me, bye.
I just don't let them in close enough to use. I don't let them in close enough.
No. Yeah. Well, how do you know though? How do you trust them though? How do you develop that trust if you can't let them in? You know what I mean? You got to let them in order to be able to develop that trust or not.
I think it depends on what they ask me for. So like people will ask me for a direct favor, like, hey, can you introduce me to so-and-so? And I won't do that, but I'll put you in the room so you can make that connection yourself. Okay. Can you help me, make money on my podcast? Yeah. Me, no, I won't put in that work to do it for you, but I'll give you the tools that you need to go and do it on your own. I think that weeds out a lot too.
Right. Okay.
Like if you offer someone, like if someone wants to come on and they'll be like, hey, can you promote my book or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I won't personally do that, but you could come on the podcast and share your story and you have my platform to use. You have to put in, you got to meet me halfway with that. So I think that weeds out a lot of stuff too.
Okay. Well, like in regular life, if I notice that somebody, I have 3 good guy friends. I have acquaintances, you know what I mean? But that's it. Like, I have a fair weather friend. If everything's good for him, he'll help you out. But if he's got something going on, he won't sacrifice shit for you. You know what I mean? And I've learned that. I'm still friends with him. I'm acquainted with him. I talk to him. But I realize that if he's got something better, he's going to that. You know what I mean? He's not going to sacrifice for me. So, the 3 guys that I look at like are really good friends, I stick with them. I stay around people that have good attitudes. If you're one of those people that's pessimistic and the world's going to end tomorrow and all that kind of stuff, I
hate negativity.
Lead away from you.
And complainers. I cannot stand a complainer.
Right.
If someone starts complaining about, like, I'll have DMs from people where they're like complaining, hey, can you help me out? This and that. Yeah. It's like, man, I was in a worse position than you were and I dug myself out of that.
Right.
Like you could do that too.
Right. Well, that's what I was talking about, how I lost my stripes. I was a sergeant on the road and we had a prisoner one night. To make a long story short, they said I used too much force on a prisoner. I disagree with that, but it happened. I mean, I got jammed up. So I got moved back to patrolman. And those were dark days, okay, where I was talking to my pillow, you know what I mean? All those kind of things. And, my wife at the time and things like that. And to go as a supervisor and then go back. I mean, I was a senior man, but still go back and work with the guys that you supervised. It was freaking hard, and I had friends that helped me get through it, and I thank them for that to this day. But I started taking the sergeant's test again after a year of being punished. You couldn't take it for a year. Took it, scored reachable 2nd year, reachable 3rd year, reachable 4th year, reachable 5th year. I got interviewed 5 times, got turned down. Finally, on the 6th time, I got made sergeant again. Okay. And then a couple years later made lieutenant, and a couple years later made captain. And looking back, I wouldn't want to do that again. But looking back, and I'm proud of myself that I put my fucking head down, sucked it up, even if I disagreed with what they did to me, okay? Sucked it up and continued on. I could have stayed as a freaking asshole patrolman, wrote my 1 ticket a freaking week, you know what I mean? And stayed on midnights. I could have done all that, but I didn't. And I'm very proud of myself that I pushed forward through that and retired the way I did. I was thinking on the way here, you're talking about your sticky notes. Do you remember that one episode you're talking about how you have a bunch of sticky notes?
I like my sticky notes.
Well, I used to get my balls broken in narcotics because I had sticky notes all over the place. Well, now with my phone, I put in everything. Like I had you in my phone for a month where Saturday go to Ian's, and I don't know what I'd do without that freaking phone, right? But I thought about the fact that my ability to organize things and my ability to get things in the way I want them to be created that second success for me. You know what I mean? If I was not organized the way that I am, and if I didn't have that initiative to say, fuck you, you're not keeping me as a forget. I'm coming back, motherfucker. You know what I mean? I don't think if I had that background of needing things the way they needed to be, having the self-respect for myself, realizing that if I retired as a patrolman, I would be looking in the mirror the rest of my freaking life going, man, you fucked up, you know? And getting to come back up in that was huge to me. I mean, I'm not saying that to stay as a patrolman is a bad thing. I'm not. There's patrolmen that are senior guys that we need as patrolmen. They run a great zone, okay? They know what they're doing, and they just don't want to become sergeant. So I'm not saying to be a patrolman, there's no disrespect. I don't mean anything like that at all. But I wasn't one of them. I wanted to be part of the upper echelon. I wanted to be of a higher rank because my father was a higher rank, and he's passed away. But when he passed away, he was a higher rank. My uncles, all that, my cousins. But I kind of wanted that, thing when I retired where, hey, he's retired captain. You know, I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. It makes me feel good when somebody refers to me as a retired captain. Like I feel as if they look at me like I've had some success in life, and especially having that trouble and then coming back up makes me feel even better. My girlfriend breaks my balls and says I'm too much into titles, but I'm not. But I don't know. I kind of am.
But you earned that. That's part of your journey.
Yeah. And like right now, so I'll break her chops and I'll be like, you will do this because I'm a captain, like that, breaking balls, right? I go, that's a fucking order, right? And she'll say, you're a security guard. Because I'm retired now, I'm a security guard. I got a fucking stupid ass badge. It's a security guard on it now. It's corny as hell, you know what I mean? But it's a great retirement gig. I don't do shit. I turn a freaking couple light switches on. I work in an outpatient mental health clinic. The clinicians are freaking solid. They keep these people tweaked. That's another thing that I never realized in law enforcement was that the outpatient care that we have for mental health. And I live in a community that the big city's 65,000 people, the second city's 35,000 people, okay? Just to give you an idea of people. It's not crazy. But we have a clinic that has got 30 clinicians that are basically working full time, that the people are coming in for shots and coming in for counseling and coming in for their scripts to be refilled, okay? People that are coming in that are dressed in suits, okay? That are people of, it's not these people that you think are going to be the normal people that come to mental health clinics. Mental health clinics, these outpatient mental health clinics are keeping this chaos to a level that's livable, okay? There are so many people that have been diagnosed, and people argue, say, today too many people are diagnosed. I don't think they are what they are. I think there's overdiagnosis. I don't know. That's another argument. But these people that come in, they keep them tweaked, okay? Because I notice when people come in and they haven't been seen in a year, okay, and they're not on their meds, because what happens is, I was told this by these clinicians, they take their meds, they start feeling better, they don't think they need it. They stop taking them, and then they resurfaces, okay? So when they come into this clinic, sometimes there's a lot of issues. And the psychiatrist will say to me, next time they come in, watch, they'll be a different person. Next time they come in, they're sitting there. Hi, I'm John Smith for 2:00 appointment with Dr. Stevens. Okay, John, take a seat. And he sits down. You know what I mean? You're like, this is the guy from a month ago that was losing his mind. We had to calm him down. You know what I mean? So I never realized, I give respect to these mental health people that are keeping this chaos at a level that's doable. So if I'm dealing with 20 to 30 clinicians in my little small town, can you imagine what it's like here and what it's like in the city? You know what I mean? How many people are dealing with this? I never realized that. I didn't. Did you? I never realized that there was that much outpatient mental health, and that's not talking inpatient. I mean, these are people that are around us, that are coming in and they're getting. I mean, we have 3 nurses that are giving shots every day, all day long. So I give credit to that. I never thought. And then the other thing is emergency rooms, like every first responders. out of first responders, I think, and I know they're not first responders, but I think that corrections, number one, is the most underrated profession in law enforcement. They are not getting enough credit. Okay, I'll say that 100 times a day. They're not getting enough credit. Anytime somebody posts anything about correction officer week, I always type, they're the most underappreciated people in the world, okay? I'm not talking about the asshole correction officers. I'm talking about the guys that are doing the right, guys and gals that are doing the right thing, okay? But when it comes to other things, your EMT guys, your ambulance guys, okay? Your firemen, your mental health, your outpatient mental health, your mobile crisis assessment teams that come in and analyze somebody. One thing people forget is emergency rooms. Because when you are at 2 o'clock in the morning and you have that person that is gone out there and cutting their wrists, this and that, you bring them to the emergency room for medical, yes. But guess what? They stay in the psych until a place is able to take them. You know what I mean? So these nurses and doctors in the emergency rooms, the pressure that these guys have to dealing with these problems, I give them credit too. I really do. I think it's a series of all of us working together that we're able to make this the way it is. You know, you could go out there and say, there's crime, there's this, there's that. We are nowhere near where we are in other places in this world when it comes to crime. We are nowhere near it. We are able to live civilly because of the people that I just mentioned, you know? And the other thing is that when we talked about how you have really bad people, there are bad people that need to be incarcerated the rest of their life. You imagine working 16 hours a day with these guys or gals. You know what I mean?
I give them credit.
Yeah, it's a different breed, you know?
And no cell phone. That's one of the only, there's not a lot of jobs where you can't have a cell phone at all. Like the correctional officers.
Oh, yeah. Oh, inside, you mean?
Yeah, inside. Yeah. They're locking them away. They can't, they're doing the time with you, you know?
Right. Yeah. And like the guy you had on from Rikers, the smells.
That was the first thing you told me about.
That guy was great. I had a good time when I watching him. But there's truth to it. You know what I mean? Like you send 32 people to the yard for rec, okay? They come back. You got testosterone smell. You got sweat smell. You got the shower going, the steam. You got them going to the bathroom. You got them reheating their coffee, okay, with toilet paper. You know, they make the nest on the toilet seat of toilet paper. And when I was there, if you were a punk CO, you allowed them to take when they were pouring coffee, you allowed them to take, it was a steel pot. You fucking kidding me? They'd allow them to take the steel pot in there, and they would heat up their coffee and then hold it over the thing. Right, so you had that smell. And then for some reason, the jail I worked at, I don't know if it was a state thing, but you know the Slim Jims?
Yeah, of course.
They used to light them and burn all the grease off and make it into like more of a beef jerky type of thing. That smelled like freaking hair, cooking, and mayonnaise, and just nasty. It had this nasty smell to it. So you take all those smells together. It was terrible. It was just terrible.
Holy cow! I didn't even know about that.
Oh yeah, I didn't understand why they did that. But the one guy told me it was because it got all the grit of the grease and it made it like more of a beef jerky taste to it. But I says, well, I go, you're stinking up the freaking unit, you know. But and then when I worked in the jail, you could smoke in the jail. Yeah. And was it federal you could smoke or just the designated area?
No, it wasn't even legal. They would sell packs for like $20 and then like contraband.
Oh, contraband packs, yeah. So the sheriff at the time, for the people that had no money, he would give this tobacco to them. He spent when the new sheriff came in and realized that they spent over $20,000 on this free tobacco for people, he canceled it. But when I first started working there, the sheriff allowed it, and it was this stuff called Roll Rich. Okay, and you ever seen the Tops tobacco? It's I don't know, maybe a New York thing, but it's you roll it. You roll your own tobacco, all right? And this Roll Rich was similar to Tops, but it was cheaper even looking than Tops. And they'd have the rolling papers, and they'd roll these cigarettes, and they were just the worst smelling cigarettes. I mean, it doesn't make any, I mean, like you smell a Marlboro cigarette, you still have that secondhand smoke, but it smells like a cigarette. This didn't even smell like a cigarette. So you also had that, where these people were smoking that And then, they were throwing cigarette butts in the ground. It was a totally different atmosphere than it is now. You know what I mean? As far as I think there's a level of cleanliness that there wasn't before. With the pods, I think there's a little bit more, I wouldn't say respect for the prisoner. I don't know if that's the right word, but it's a little bit more of a common type of living. You know what I mean? Because when you're in a linear jail, you come out of your cell, you're still on a catwalk that has bars around it. So the catwalk's probably from me to you away in distance and width. And there's 4 picnic tables that are stationed within, the metal ones. But I think that the guys that had stayed working at the jail and I left, the guy said it wasn't like it was at the end when you were there. He goes, it got a lot better. And he said it got a lot better with prisoner, inmate, deputy relationships because the prisoners more behaved themselves. And I said, why? And he goes, because they didn't want to go to the linear part of the jail. They wanted to be in the pods. So now you went from a jail, remember I told you we were so full that we had punitive seg, or strip cell or PC, you were locked in a cell with everybody around you. This is where they have the ability to have a punitive seg unit now. So if you're an asshole, come on, you're going to punitive seg and you're in a cell. Well, they have that over the inmate. So the inmate's like, I want air conditioning. I want TV when I can go to it. Because what happens is they pop the door at 8 o'clock in the morning. The only time they're going to close it is count in the afternoon to switch shifts, and then at night when you go to bed. Other than that, you can stay out in the freaking area the whole time. The rec yard is attached to the pod. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he says it got a lot better, and that reduced tension. So, but still, I mean, I wouldn't want to do that job again.
You've lived an interesting life, John.
Yeah, I did.
Well,
I did.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you coming on the show today.
I appreciate it. Yeah. Thank you very much.
It was a great conversation, very insightful. I'm glad we got to meet. Definitely stay in touch, and thanks for supporting the show.
Okay, thanks, Ian. I appreciate it.